This is Meerkat in with the weekend review for Vacationing D7, good through May the 7th, 2017. Well, let's take a look at what happened Friday. Let's take a look at what happened for this week, and then just pull back and take a look at the weekly charts as well. So let's look at Friday's numbers here. SPY, the DIA, the Qs, as well as the small cap IWM, all up. 0.28 all the way to 0.64. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. And we had all-time high closes for the S&P 500 index and for the NASDAQ index. They're new all-time highs. Kind of snuck in there after high basing all week long. And bank, though, however, pulled back. In the financials there, you can see bank pulled back 0.23 and the financials pulled back 0.17. Then the VIX was up 0.96 up to 10.56, and then we have so a little bit of fear came back in markets, but we are at traditionally low rates. When we look at the chart, you'll see that dollar did drop about 0.1%. Oil, big huge bounce today, up over 2.1%. Gold and silver made a small bounce too, but still pretty much looking pretty bearish here. And the trend trade is not on for our folks, our Grok grads. Okay, that was Friday. Let's take a look now here at the S&P chart. This is the daily chart on the SPY, which is the ETF on the S&P 500. Look at this all week long. High base, high base, high base, high base, high base. Indecision, indecision, indecision. We are still in the buy mode here. This was the big huge jump after the preliminary elections in France, and now this weekend are the final presidential elections against the top two candidates, and so there is some risk over the weekend, but right now it shows a 20-point lead for the centrist candidate. So I guess there's just not that much fear in the markets right now. In fact, you'll see how low it is in a moment. Actually, on the SPY, we did not quite hit a new high, but on the S&P 500, it did. Let's take a look at the Dow here, and it is just high base, high base, high base. We had a nice little recovery today, but we are definitely high basing here, and it's a wonderful thing, right? High base is more bullish and bearish, especially on low volume. Then we have the Qs here. This is the ETF on the NASDAQ, and look at it, high basing, and today it did close at new highs here, just there from just the other day. There we are, we're a new high on the QQQ ETF, as well as on the NASDAQ index as well. Then we have the small cap Russell here, and I put a sell on this one a few days ago, and it did drop down here. It pulled back up, just by his bootstrings. You can see how low it was earlier today, and then did pull back up here at the end of the day. All right, take a look at bank. Bank is kind of interesting. It's been stalled right here. It tries to break out, and this 50 moving average here on the daily chart, it just keeps hitting its head right on that. This is the bank index of 720 banks, and not just the big boys and girls, but there are lots of the regional banks there. And here's the financial sector ETF, and look at this. It's sitting here right under the 50 moving average. Just can't seem to get above that area. So it's stalled here right now. We can't go anywhere without bank, even though we've gone to new record highs in two of the indexes. We still really have it's been really quiet here. It's just been going sideways. Yeah, a little bit more, a little bit more. It's been very, very subtle here. No big moves here on the market. Now here, I wanted to show you the VIX. This is the VIX daily. More importantly, look at how long we've been sitting down here underneath the 11. Wait till we see the weekly on that. And then the dollar again, we put a buy on the dollar, but it has pulled back here. But if it pulls back to this, it's a good opportunity for a bull pullback. Then oil, yeah, it's been falling, 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 falling. And again, Des put this on just before he left on vacation, and it crashed. And down here, it did make a bounce, but and look at the volume, folks. Look at the volume. So is this big, huge one down a capitulation? It could be. We did come back, and we came back more than halfway today. Not another one for me to put another buy signal on this one. And then gold, yeah, it bounced up today, but look at this. Crash, 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 down, down, down. Definitely not, and it's still bearish there, and also bearish on silver. Look at this rundown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 candles down, and now one up. That's not a trend reversal in the making to me, and it was on lower volume. All right, some other things happened here. We had Apple had reported this week. It pulled back, and now look at boom, it's right back up here to new all-time highs, closing at 148.96. And Tesla also reported, and it was at all-time highs. It pulled back, and now it's starting to bounce back up. So even though they had earnings and they pulled back from earnings, they're right back up there on their highs. In fact, let's take a look here at Facebook. Same thing, was all-time highs. It's pulled back now. It's starting to come up, but it kind of lost a little bit of gas here today. All right, so those are some of the biggies. Let's go to the weekly charts. And here's the weekly chart on the S&P 500. And again, we now have a new weekly all-time high close on this. We'll move that up there. And it's a new, on the index itself, there's actually a new daily, new all-time high period, but it's a new close for the weekly as well. So we were in this bull pullback here, or a bull flag, and it's now breaking out and just hitting new all-time highs. Dow, very similar. Look at that. Hardly could tell the difference there. It is right up here, tagging right on where the all-time high was here from back on February 27th, week of ending. And then we've got the Qs here. Boom, boom, boom. New high, weekly highs. Let's take and move this on up here. And there it is, new weekly high, and it closed near the high of the week. So very little candlestick wicks on that. And then we've got the small cap Russell here. Now, last week, boom, and then it pulled right back to this line of support and resistance, and it was touching right where the old high was. Well, this week it went up, it went down, and it ended up right just under that line again. So no new high here on the weekly. This one is still struggling here. Now here's Bank. Now on the weekly chart, it's struggling to get above that 20 moving average. It was a 50 moving average on the daily chart. But however, here on the financials, they did close just above the financial sector did on the ETF, above that 20 moving average. So this one's just a little more bullish at the weekly level. Now here's what I want to show you here on the VIX. Look at this. The entire week from opening to close, we spent underneath 11. Normally 12 is considered extremely low, and you can go back in time and see how being down here, we're down here a long time. The market, there's no fear, very, very complacent. But look at this. If I can press this in, when was the last time we spent an entire week underneath the 11? Well, it would be back here, 2014. That's the last time we spent any major time down here, way back here in 2014. So I just want to put in perspective how low this fear is in the market. It is so complacent. Nobody's buying puts to protect their long-term positions. It's pretty amazing if you think about that. So this could be setting us up for a fall, but it's just a little bit in the background that you need to be aware of. Very, very low on the fear side. Even with the French election this weekend, which was a geopolitical concern, but which is obviously faded from 2 weeks ago. So let's take a look at oil here over the last few weeks. Oh boy, that one really needs to be adjusted here. So oil here, the last 3 weeks, bam, bam, bam. Wow, it really has dropped, and it's it pierced below the 6-month lows, and then it came back up today. It had a nice bounce back up, so it didn't end at the lows of the week, but definitely bearish. And then we have gold here. Look at that, bam, bam, bam. Now dropping down below the 50 and the 200 moving average, and now it's all the way. It tagged the 20, pulled up just slightly though. Definitely bearish on gold. And then look at silver. Wow, bam, 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 now below all moving averages here now, and definitely very bearish. And look at the volume, increasing volume. The more it falls, the bigger the volume is getting, folks. So if you're living in hope that this is going to bounce back, and you should have gotten out long ago and then waited to get in at a better price when it finally does decide to rebound. Well, that's it for this week. We are in a high base on the markets, just steadily going up, very, very slowly. No big moves. Personally, I'm long about 15 positions in my swing account. I did stop out of one of them this week, But other than that, I'm up about 9% overall in the last 4 weeks. So I'm real happy about that, even with the one big stop out. Well, this is Mark the Meerkat. Just remember, at Grok Trade, we trade what we see, not what we think. Have a great week and trade well.